Welcome Tanya, Bruce, and Andrew. My name is Willow, and these are my two colleagues, Jordan and Claire. We're from the Weyburn Comprehensive School, and we would like to draw your attention to our presentation on the Regina Symphony Orchestra. This is our agenda for today. Is there any questions on it or anything like that? Looks good to you guys? Cool. Okay, so I'll pass this on to Jordan for the case, for the dilemma.
So Tracy's dilemma is Tracy Davis is a new executive director at the Regina Symphony Orchestra. She's been tasked with facing a $350,000 deficit to reduce in 3 years. Symphonies in Canada have been facing financial deficits due to the increase in cost of putting on a production. Her internal analysis is the RSO has just hired a new music director. This allows the RSO to rebrand the community and allow a new perspective into the community. Symphonies are not in high demand. However, with the arrival of the new music director, his different lifestyle music and out-of-the-box thinking can attract a new crowd. RSO has also had a good reputation within the community. The external analysis. The symphony industry is a risky industry to be a part of since there is not a distinct age group. Compared to symphonies, places such as movie theaters, plays, sports events, and Netflix tend to have a bigger turnout. Symphonies tend to be in the dying art with the younger generation. The RSO tends to attract people between the ages of 55 to 80. However, first-time buyers are generally between the ages of 20 to 30. Tracy wants to attract people 25 years and older to get a younger demographic. I will now pass it on to Claire.
So Tracy has many pros and cons, as you can see. For example, she's a passion for music. She is an accomplished pianist. She's certified in business, obviously. She has extensive leadership roles within the business community. She's worked as a director of education within the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, and she has a music degree in piano performance. However, she doubts herself. She doesn't think that she can pull off reducing this deficit in 3 years. She doesn't know if symphony is even viable in today's, our generation, 17, 18 to 25-year-olds. And she's also brand new to the orchestra, so she doesn't know if she can pull it off in her first major role in the orchestra. So our alternatives for her are either staying with the status quo, doing a little production she likes to call Symphony Under the Sky, and reducing the number of concerts she does in a year. I will now pass this off to Jordan.
So our first alternative is status quo. The RSO will continue to increase their deficit as years continue to lack due to the lack of revenue coming in. So status quo means nothing stays the same, or everything stays the same, nothing will change. Some pros to this are Tracy's positive ongoing relationship with the CAC will remain in good terms, and Tracy will be less overwhelmed with her new workload at the RSO. Some cons are this could be added stress for Tracy to take on that deficit that she just kind of walked into in her new company. Another con is the RSO's deficit will keep increasing if they don't do anything to stop it. We'll now pass this back to Claire to do Symphony Under the Sky.
So Tracy basically came up with Symphony Under the Sky. I mean, it's not in Regina, but she's bringing it to Regina. And she wants to hold a little symphony under the sky over a 3-day weekend, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And basically it's a music festival for symphony lovers. You get a $50 weekend pass, enjoy some food, remember? The pass only includes the symphonies and entrance, but that's not the point. The pros to this are it brings attention to orchestra, brings interest. It also provides entertainment for Regina, people in Regina. It's very, very accountable for people in Regina and surrounding area. Most people, including us in Weyburn, we come to Regina for shopping. why not come for a symphony if you're into that kind of stuff? Personally, I'm not. And it will be held over multiple nights. So if you can't go on a Friday, you can come on a Saturday. The cons are it may be costly to some families. It may not be a successful turnout first year, but she could always work on that. And it's weather permitting because they want to hold it in the Victoria Park in Regina. And the ticket prices may aggravate some people based on other symphonies and the other guys should have been to. I'll pass this on. Willow.
Okay, so alternative number 3 is to reduce the number of concerts held in a year for the orchestra. So this is less work to put on less concerts and allows for bigger audiences to come to the concerts because there won't be as many. The RSO will reduce the number of concerts per year from 33 concerts we figured out to 29. As of right now, each concert held in the Connexus Arts Center costs $42,000. And this adds up to be about $1.4 million a year if they hold 33 symphonies. So the pros of this would be less concerts equal less expenses for production and venue. Less concerts equal more turnout to the symphonies that are held. And reduce deficit and give back to the community. So over the years, they will accumulate more profit from this. So then they'll be able to give back into the community once they have reduced their deficit. And some of the cons for this is lowering shows have potential to lower revenue if ticket sales don't sell out at every concert. New music director at the RSO may not be successful for the older attendees since he is new and upcoming and stuff. They're not sure if he will hit it off with the older generation that do go to symphonies. So so our decision criteria. So we came up with this criteria and we rate each one from 0 to 3, 3 being the best, of course. And then we subtracted the risks to come up with our grand total. So status quo, so the probability is 0. The fifth organization is 0 because they're not reducing their deficit or anything. And the risks is a -3 because they have very high risks with keeping the status quo. So that's how we got the grand total of -3. For a symphony under the sky, we gave probability a 2. Fifth organization a 2 because there is a great possibility that this can be awesome for the organization, but there's also the risk of it not hitting off, and so that's why we gave the risk a -3 because it's very possible that it couldn't be successful. So that's how we got its grand total of 1. Reduced number of concerts, we gave it a 3 for probability. Fifth organization, we gave it a 3 because you're still giving the public what they want in the symphonies that they're going to. And there's very little risk with this option because you're giving the community what they want. So that's how we came up with the grand total of 5 for that one. And I'll pass this off to Jordan for the recommendation.
So what we decided for a recommendation was to reduce the number of concerts. We believe that reduce the number of concerts was the best fit for the organization with the least amount of risks. It is the least costly way to make the most profit for the organization, and it is also the best way to reduce the deficit within the 3-year span. So now Claire will
Start to run that. So as we said, if you're in 33 concerts in 1 year, you're going to be spending $42,000 per concert, which equals around $1.3, $1.4 million a year. However, if you cut only by 4, they will reduce this to $1.2 million a year. This means that in 3 years, Tracy will have reduced the deficit, and she will have saved, well, not saved, but the money she will have saved is $504,000. Oh my goodness. If she only needed $350,000, she will be able to invest the other $154,000 into the community. For the implementation plan, the short term will be just to reduce the number of concerts immediately. That way you can save as much money as possible. Medium will be, within the year, she will have a substantial amount of debt paid off. And long term, after 3 years, she will have basically the deficit paid off and plus more. In order to cut down the deficit, Tracy has to implement her, I guess I repeating myself. She will have to begin her plan immediately. She'll have to go to the board of the RSO and see if she can cut down on symphonies that she does in a year. And if she goes through, she can start the process immediately.
So now, do you guys have any questions for us?
We'll have 5 minutes for the questions.
Okay.
Let me ask this question, and that is, I quote you, I'm not into this, or not into it, being the symphony. How would we make it, as a symphony, say we're the symphony board, how would we make, encourage you to be into it? What would we have to do to make you interested?
Well, I don't know, like, I like the idea of the symphony in this, under the sky or whatever, just because it will add other entertainment. Like, I like symphony, but I don't think I personally could sit there for an hour or so listening to that. I would like to do other stuff while I do it, so if you added some sort of entertainment with it. Like, I won't mind going to a symphony, like, once every year or something, but, I mean, that's just me. I don't know about that, like, this is just my opinion, like, me being opinionated.
I also think that the symphony under the sky is like the best idea because,
A good idea.
a good idea because it does attract all ages. You can, like, you don't have to sit there the full time, so say you listen to a couple songs and then you're like, oh, I'm kind of thirsty, I'm gonna go get a drink, or go to the washroom or something. It gives you the chance to be able to walk around and, like, explore while listening to the symphony music at the same time.
Thank you.
Decide which question to ask. I want you to tell me a little bit about your third option, actually, which is an intriguing one, because I think one of the questions in a situation like this is the answer to cut so that you reduce costs and therefore ideally save, or do you find ways to grow so that you have a bigger presence, you increase your marketing, and you really increase your reach, right? And that is a real question in the real world in this kind of situation. And so I'm a bit curious about your choice to say to reduce. And one of the reasons I'm curious is that it does say in the case that the musicians' costs can't be decreased because there's a collective agreement, because they're under a union. And so the cost for a concert includes that, which means you can't cut that. So I'm a little curious, and I know I'm getting into some of the nitty-gritty, but what are your thoughts on that approach and that kind of strategy, knowing that that's kind of reducing your impact in the community, reducing the fact that you're now decreasing a budget around marketing, for example, so it's harder to reach when you have less money to spend and you're making less because of that approach.
Yeah, okay, so we were hoping, or what we kind of came up with, is that by reducing the number of concerts, we were hoping that there would be more interest in going to them because there's only a few, there's like less in a year. So we're thinking by cutting down, people will be like, oh, instead of going like these 3 nights, oh, we can only go these 2 nights. So then therefore more people will be coming to the concerts.
So it's the concept of scarcity, that you have only limited times you
Yeah,
can come,
exactly.
therefore those are the times you want to
Yeah,
come.
yeah.
Like a good example is even at our school, we only do 1 dance a year. And because for the same fact that if we did 3 dances per year, no one's going to show up. But if we do 1 dance, someone's going to show up. Like a lot of people are going to show up.
Yeah.
We went with that mentality.
Right.
Thank you.
So you're hoping that the less number of orchestras, the more people which would attend, which would increase profit.
Right.
More. Yeah, that big.
Can you just explain, maybe I just didn't catch this, on your chart that you had there, you had risk as -3, I believe, for the top, for the status quo. Can you explain how you came up to the -3?
Do you want me to go back to that? Oh, perfect. Okay, so the -3, so for the status quo, the probability was 0, and then the fit for the organization was 0 too. So we thought that this wasn't a good way to reduce that deficit. So that's why for these two, when we add them together, we got 0. and then risk, we wanted to subtract because the risk is not a good thing. So if we were to give risk a 3, that's saying that risk is good, but risk is bad. So that's how we got the -3.
So just sort of an arbitrary.
Yeah, so we added the 2 columns and then subtracted the risk, if that makes sense.
So what happens if Tanya goes to the board, Tanya Tracy, oh God.
Okay, Tracy?
She goes to the board and they say, no, we are not approving this, we do not like this idea. What would be, aside from potentially these 2 other options of status quo disappearing in the sky, would there be anything else that, and I guess this kind of goes along with what Bruce maybe said, would there be any other options that you guys could potentially bring to the board?
Yeah, so in our case, she had 3 of her own, like, options or things that she was thinking about. And another one was in 2019, there was a smaller space other than the Connexus Art Center that was being newly renovated. The Connexus Art Center holds 2,000
Sorry, I have to
people.
stop you there.
Oh.
Your time is up.
Okay,
Sorry.
sorry.
It would have been a great answer though.
Okay,
You're
I
building
can explain later if you guys would like to
No,
hear
it's
that.
Building attention for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
very much.
time.
Thank you.